Test, test.
Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to go ahead and get started, and hopefully everybody can hear me okay. Thanks for joining us this morning. I know it's a holiday season. It's the weekend before Christmas. There's a lot going on. So thanks for taking some time today. The weather on this first day of winter is acting like the first day of winter. So again, thanks for coming in. We've got plenty of refreshments. Leanne Trammell was unable to join us today because of other holiday plans. However, she did bake those items and provide that food back there. So if you see Leanne, please reach out to her and say thank you. That was very kind of her. And if we run low, I've got some other, but start with Leanne's delicious items there. All right, so I am flying solo today. Unfortunately, my right-hand man is under the weather, Taylor, who's not able to join us. And let's see, let me just do this. Okay, I'll read our mission statement. The Dixie Fire Long-Term Recovery Group, known as the DFC, Dixie Fire Collaborative, is a collaboration of nonprofit, faith-based, local, state, or national organizations that work together to share information and resources that can help address the needs of individuals and families affected by the Dixie wildfire. The stated mission of the DFC is working to fulfill the unmet needs of Dixie fire survivors and helping to rebuild the communities of Greenville, Indian Falls, Canyon Dam, Warner Valley, and surrounding areas of Plymouth County. All programs shall support this mission and purpose, and all who work for or on behalf of the DFC shall understand and adhere to that purpose. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started with Danny Steyer today with our treasurer's report. There's been some updates, so Danny will provide a very thorough rundown.
Yeah, if you just go ahead to that first slide there.
And if you, you just step right there. Perfect. Thank you. Yes, sir. Thank you.
So, you hear me? Okay, I gotta do this. It's gotta speak into the microphone and over. So we got, this is kind of start off looking at what the inflow is. So we had, interest in, actually, this didn't get updated.
Oh,
And I read into this last time, at least the first slide got updated, but.
Here, let me,
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I like the, roll back to the first one, because I like the overview. one.
Okay.
So go back to the first slide. So here, that instead of, looking at that, go back
sir,
there.
yep, Mark, there you go.
So what we want to say is we had a donation of $1,500 that we received. And on top of that, we have $4,403 of interest that we made. And so that total should see $3,126,885.18 as inflow. And we did have provide a grant to the Indian Valley Food Pantry of $2,500. So our total grant is $1,250,715.17. So there's slight differences there. And we did in expenditures, we have a 2% fee on donations and such that comes in assessed by the North Valley Community Fund. So we had a $30 expense, which is added to our expenditure. So our expenditure should be 2,600. I always have trouble with these big numbers. $61,335.09. But our current balance is account balance here is $1,659,804.92 is our current balance. And then looking at what we have as far as commitments, we have some commitments that we made. We agreed that we would fund a grant application for the Indian Valley Community Services District, the microgrid. We have $6,500 that we pledged for that. And then also for the Animal Foundation, Plymouth Housing Council, we have $600,000 that we pledged for that. So this, we have outstanding commitments of $911,000.20 getting 900, get this on me,
Sure.
$112,120. So our total outflow at this point, committed outflow, everything else is $2,375,200.26, or 76% of the money that has come in, we have committed. So, and kind of on the statement, going back to things, I think we're actually moving in a good direction here. Well, you see where we're granting money out for great causes, you know, but then also we're still getting, you know, people are donating funds to us to help, and we are getting money from the money that's in the interest from the money in the bank. So if we look at available funds, uncommitted funds, it's $745,684 is what our total committed funds are. So unfortunately, it's not reflected, but as we roll through, we will see this. So if we go ahead there, thank you, Patrick. And so this is actually shows, as I said, the money that here you see the inflows and outflows. And the other look, I don't know what that other side was still in there. So that's what it is. So it has everything I talked to right here. So it's good. So I still looked at this a little longer.
That's okay.
But this is exactly where I filled it in. So it is, and the reason I'm going to go through is I'll go through the next detailed slides as such that it gets up into the recorded session of the Zoom session so people can see the details. So we'll go ahead here. So here we see that the contribution has gone from $3,000 to $450,000. And so interest income goes increasing. So I have here in the highlighted area the totals that have changed. So we go ahead here. And we didn't have any change in grants here. This we'll go to the next grant page. And this says it shows highlighted the Inner Valley Food Pantry grant of $2,500. And I resist the thing of reaching over point of this because we can see it in the room, but we can't see it online. I think when I reach over like that. So
Right. Yeah, I'm sharing it right now.
yeah, but I'm not sure if my hand can reach over.
It's highlighted.
Yeah.
It's highlighted, yeah, but I'm just pointing that out. I think it's good enough, but yeah. Everybody's we'll go right ahead then. And here that shows the North Valley community fees increased by $30. So that's why that's highlighted. So if you go back to previous presentations, you'll see that next slide.
This one or this one?
And then it just shows the total expenditures have changed. That's why it's highlighted. And the current account balance also changes. So the next slide. And here shows the 2 additional grants that we have committed to. They haven't been funded yet. Once they get funded, they'll appear in a different section of the presentation. But that shows our outstanding commitments of close to $1 million. Next slide. And this just shows the math to get to that 76% of the monies is actually allocated at this point. Actually, just kind of go back one real quick. This here in committed or not or proposed. It's not totally allocated there, but we have proposed reserve funds. It shows here this funding for the Greenville Rancheria rebuild of $300,000. That could come back and will come back at some point and comes off. So just kind of a little mental note that comes back to the fund to be able to go ahead and use. So I just want to point that out a bit. And I think that's all I have there. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Danny. Do we have, with regard to some of those expenditures too, there'll be further elaboration further on in the presentation today. Do we have an update from the Indian Valley Chamber of Commerce?
Yes, hi, this is Kira King on Zoom. Can you hear me?
Yep, we got you loud and clear. Thank you.
Oh, terrific. Hi, everyone. Sorry, I'm not there today. Not feeling too great. Didn't want to pass the joy on. So this was Indian Valley Chamber. Is that correct? I can't quite read the sign.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, terrific. So we had our last meeting in December, which is our election meeting. The weather was horrible and only 2 people showed up. So we have decided to move our elections into the summer. I believe it's June. But we have lots of committees and a few board positions coming open. So I would really encourage everyone who's watching and listening to try to get involved. You can be an individual, an organization, or a business. So individuals are perfectly fine as well if you're not running a business. We have pretty low membership fees compared to the rest of the county's chambers, trying to keep that really reasonable for everybody to try to get involved. And coming up here in January, we're going to need a big lift to get gold diggers going. There's been some talk by a few different folks to try to chair the gold diggers committee, but we need to start that much sooner than it has in the past. And we have to have much more commitment on a committee and folks that are willing to put in some time and effort to make that happen, or it won't happen this year. So I just want to throw that out there. Please look for some information starting in January and February for joining that committee. Also, please consider coming on our board. We have, like I mentioned, I think 3 or 4 positions up for re-election. A few of the folks that have so wonderfully contributed, Cassie Barr, for example, has just got so many things on her plate. She's not able to continue past our extended June date. So there will be some vacancies. Chris Joseph, for example, is kind of holding up two positions at this point, which is just too much to ask of anyone human. And so please consider joining. Talk to me, call me. I can give you the lowdown. We have a great new website that should have everything on there for you. We have, so that's Indian Valley Chamber of Commerce.org, I believe. And go on there. You can pay online for your memberships. We also have a few members that are on our rolls that haven't paid their annual dues yet. And so technically that's all due in the June, July kind of time frame. We're excited to have some other funding coming in and some assets that we really need a board to be able to control and dictate where those assets go for the better of our community and the businesses in the community and the general aesthetic value and presentation of our valley in Loomis County. So we are also actively involved with what was previously called the Dixie Fire. I'm sorry, not the Dixie Fire, the Lost Sierra Chamber Coalition group, and that's members from every chamber, including a couple non-chamber members. For example, the tourist district that advertises and promotes Loomis County in general. They get, I believe, 2% of the TOT tax that goes directly to them for their functions, and they're involved with this group as well. And we're all talking about some fashion of a coalition between all of the chambers, where some of the functions that we do as chambers could be Plymouth County wide. And that would be amazing as far as like marketing and grants, reaching out for grants and websites and calendaring and things like that. So very excited about the possibilities that are coming there. I just wanted to throw out there too, if we can get that coalition going, we've had some talks from other counties that have done this. And one of the most amazing benefits is that when you pool all of the members into a coalition, because all the members of all the different chambers would be part of this, you have a large enough group to actually qualify those businesses for healthcare. And I think that is one of the most amazing possibilities for the small local businesses, that we could be in a pooled, shared healthcare group, among other really great things that the coalition could provide. So keep posted. Come to the meetings if you can. There's been really slim pickings as far as folks that are contributing and coming to meetings. A few diehards are just really helping and making everything go on. And for example, Kest and Sherry, always have to give kudos to them. They always show up, always help and contribute, but we really need more. It's got a great cause. And as I mentioned, we have some pretty good funding and some pretty good money that we can contribute to the community. Again, it's not for individuals directly or individual grants, it's for business and, the overall development of Indian Valley, but I think it's time. And come and get involved. Look for the committee signups on the website. So we have everything from helping with the Easter egg hunt to the of course, the light parade every year. All of those things kind of fall under the umbrella of the chamber, and we need people to get involved to help make those happen. Gold Diggers is the biggest one, so think about at least contributing in some regard to our committee on that. And thank you, everyone. Have a happy, merry holiday season.
Great, thank you so much, Kira. And could you just say again the date for that January meeting?
It's always the first Monday.
Okay, so that'll be January 6th. January 6th is the first Monday in 2025.
And we're trying to find, we always go to all different business members that are our chamber members. And I'm not sure DFC directly is, but clearly we're aligned in our principles of impacting Indian Valley. I think the meeting might, but check the website. I think every meeting we decide on the next meeting's location, and that will always be posted on the Indian Valley Chamber of Commerce.org website. So please reference that often, okay? Again, you can do your membership there online and just put in a credit card. You can also contribute money directly to our scholarship fund that goes directly to the graduating kids. We have a few scholarships we give out at the end of every graduating year to the seniors. So yeah, get involved. Thank you, everyone. I'll stick around for sure if anyone have any questions at the end.
Great, thank you very much, Kira, and we'll look forward to that meeting. All right, next item, Sue Weber with the Indian Valley Recreation Parks District. Yeah, whatever you need.
Okay, welcome everybody that is here and on Zoom. I just want to do a fairly concise report out for Indian Valley Park and Rec and the direction that we're heading. So we currently have a full board, a very active board, and it's very exciting. So Kaylee Bentz, Jared Morris, Janine, and Joan Carter, and myself are the 5 board members for Indian Valley Park and Rec. As you know, pre-fire and post-fire, it became really challenging. And Judy was one of the ones who really kept it together, just that we actually were able to come back in and build a board. So one of the things that the board spent a lot of time on over the past few months was really talking about what we need both currently and what we need long-term. And obviously long-term, we're looking for space, we're looking for possibilities to begin to bring programs in. And in the process of that discussion, we came up with, once again, usually some of your solutions are right in front of you, but you don't see them, or you don't necessarily think they're possible. So we spent the last 4 months actually working with PCOE, so Plumas County Office of Ed, Plumas Charter School, and IVRPD. And we went into a lot of discussions because we actually have a jewel right here with a lot of facility and a lot of capacity. So I'm happy to say, after 4 months of hard work, we have the MOU with PCOE for facility use. We are just finishing up, which will be board approved in January, the MOU with PCS. And what that actually means is that we will have, when I say we, the community with Park and Rec, will have the ability to utilize the library. The space that you see attached to the library back there is going to be turned into a makerspace. We are allowed access to the art room, the culinary room, and the 2 rooms that are going to be turned into the Indian Valley Fitness Center. And that will all be accessible for community members. So we will be we're working out the scheduling and hiring and contracting unstructors. So things that we have on the tape, we'll be able to access the fitness center between the hours of 6 in the morning till 7:30 in the morning. And then it will be reopened from 3:30 to 10 every night. And then we're looking to pick out 4 hours on a Saturday and a Sunday, but we'll probably wait for feedback from the community, whether we do that morning or afternoon or evening hours. Programs will be offered for students from 2:40 to 4 o'clock. And then from 4 o'clock to 10 o'clock at night, classes will be offered. We're working on our website, classes that are in the making, primitive pottery. We actually just got 3 more really beautiful pottery wheels and a new kiln that was donated. We're looking at wood carving classes, jewelry making classes, canning, cake decorating, trying to think what else was on that list, art classes. So it's really exciting to have the space. So I'm really happy, we're all happy about that. And it's a great way, we know desperately, our community needs to start reconnecting with each other.
Yes.
And that's the most important piece. We also, I'll give you an update on the park that we're working with in partnership with Indian Valley Community Service District. We have finalized, it will go out to bid January, February. The goal is to have it lined up and ready to go in the spring. So for a toddler zone, shade covering for the park area, putting dugouts in the park, and then upgrading the 2 ball fields. That's the scope of work. The ball fields will be probably financially shared between CSD and Park and Rec, because that's about a $650,000 project. The toddler zone and all the shade and the dugout will come out of a grant that was granted per capita of $177,500. So we're spending that grant down, and that is specific, that has to go to parks. So that's what was decided.
And just for clarification,
Yes.
so this is the Greenville Park and Hot Springs Road that
Yes,
you're talking about?
yeah,
Okay.
thank you, great. We also signed an MOU with HUD to be able to access the facilities that are available down at Green Meadows. So starting in January, there will be 3 days a week for 3 hours, senior activities offered down there. We're hoping to get an exercise class in there and then some either crafts or gathering. We do have a full-time staff person, Destiny Lyman. We will be looking for another full-time position where one will be more into admin and one will be more into programming. I have to write this, otherwise I'll forget things. Once we get the website up and running, the website's going to be, it takes a lot of work because it's very complex, because we need to have people be able to register, to pay for their classes, to be able to know what classes are being offered, the timeframes that they're going to be offered, etc. So we're hoping to have that up and running when we do the ribbon cutting, which we're naming towards the 2nd week of February. That's providing no bumps come in the road. As we all know, they can. We also receive, or we will be receiving a donation from an estate from Betsy Kramer. And we're talking about how to utilize that funding. A lot has been voiced by the community around an indoor toddler zone. We have a lot of toddlers in this community right now. And how do we help support the moms plus the toddlers? So that's in the discussions at the moment. And then we are waiting on our claim. So we had our first round of negotiation. They came in with an amount, we wanted more. And so we go into our second round, hopefully our final one. It looks hopeful. If we do receive what we're asking for, IVRPD has the potential of really being clear and managing the budget in a way that would keep IVRPD really strong for the next 25 years. And that's the goal. At the end of the day, this is an unfunded district. And I don't think I can speak for myself. Most people don't want to pay more taxes. So hopefully we can be really smart with the funds and be able to make it really sustainable. So I'll answer questions afterwards. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Sue. I appreciate that. Good update. And our next presentation is from LMNOP and the Almanor Foundation. And if, we have Tyler Pugh on Zoom. Tyler, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Is Josh Huddleston there in person by any chance?
We also have Josh Huddleston with us.
Excellent. Yeah, so Josh, if you don't mind doing the first slides, and then I can jump in.
No, not at all. Thanks, Tyler. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Happy solstice, huh?
Yeah.
It definitely looks like the darkest day out there, so, thank heaven for more sunlight coming. So, yeah, housing for Plumas County. We all know that housing is a major issue for Plumas County. Affordable, or I should say attainable, of course, housing for our workforce. And so we'll give you a little oversight of what is happening there, and then Tyler will go into more detail on exactly what the Almanor Foundation is doing to help with that. So, next slide. First, yeah, a huge thank you to the Dixie Fire Collaborative Steering Committee, who has committed $600,000 to our Attainable Housing Initiative. That's really, really awesome. And thank you very much for that. Who is the Almanor Foundation? TAF for short. The Almanor Foundation is community focused and disaster responsive, future thinking, emphasis on housing. The foundation does a tremendous amount more than just housing, but and so I encourage everybody to go to the almanorfoundation.org to learn more about it. But today we'll just talk about the housing initiative. How the Almanor Foundation came to be is that a group of people in the Chester and Lake Almanor area got together when right after the campfire, there was an enormous amount of fire refugees that had been pushed into the Lake Almanor Basin. And there was not a good source of community, or I should say communication within the community of what resources may be available to them. How do they get in touch with finding a place to stay, finding food, what sources through Plumas Rural Services are available, that type of thing. And so the foundation really jumped into high speed with figuring out how that they can assist those people. During COVID, they provided a 24-hour helpline, needs assessments, shopping services, and then in December of 2020, the foundation was formed and incorporated. For instance, most recently with fire refugees during the Gold Fire, which was the one that happened over by Portola and Gray Eagle. We quickly got together with Plumas Rural Services and were able to fund the needs of people that all of a sudden are placed in Reno with hotel bills. How do they all of a sudden pay for a hotel? How do they all of a sudden pay for a week or 2 weeks of meals, eating out all of the time? And so the foundation funded that, and then PRS gave gift cards and paid for those bills immediately. This was not like you pay for it and wait, it happened right then. And so that was a wonderful thing to be able to do. And then with housing, Chester is in the same position as the rest of the county. We need housing for workforce. When the Dixie Fire happened, that got even worse because Greenville is centrally located. A good portion of Greenville is a bedroom community, and all of a sudden, a lot of businesses around Chester and Lake Almanor saw that they didn't have a workforce anymore. A lot of them left. A lot of them had to go other places for work. And so the businesses in the basin really have struggled with the loss of that workforce. So then the foundation saw this need, and how the talking was, how can a nonprofit community organization with philanthropic dollars coming in, people that want to help, how does a nonprofit help this this problem for our area? So at that time, started things like the Wildfire Relief Grant Program, which is ongoing, developed the strategic housing plan, and began implementation of the strategic housing plan. These are things that we all know by what we see here on a daily basis. We know that housing is needed. We know that certain so many rentals were in town. You know, we all have an idea of what was in Greenville, but we need that on paper to say that, yes, this is fact, this is the truth. And so to be able to move forward with the possibility of obtaining larger grants and larger funding to help with this problem, we needed to get all of that on paper. And then most recently, this last summer, we have formed the Plumas County Housing Council. Slide. Thank you. So a little roadmap of all of that. And we won't go deep into each one of these, but again, I encourage you to go to the almanorfoundation.org to just learn more. First, you know, the housing systems map. What housing was really lost? What were the sizes of those houses lost? How many of those houses were rentals? Then moving on to the Lake Almanor Basin housing assessment. What housing is needed in the Almanor Basin area for workforce attainable housing? Then we moved on to the strategic housing plan. How do we build more houses? Where can houses go? What is zoned appropriately for the houses? Where is there infrastructure for them, and where is it not? And what can we do as quickly as possible to get some of that housing back? The next phase was through the 7R development model. This was 7R is referring to the zoning of the properties that were most suitable for building residences that were multi residences on one lot, and then onto a mix and match program of what people want. What do they want to see? You know, what does the community want it to look like? And people that possibly would be either owning or renting these units, what do they really want? Do they want an apartment building? Not really so much. I don't think any of us really want to see that, you know. But how do we create something that is attractive? And then the RRA development model is just that. In fact, it is a model that enables 3 residences on one parcel, and those can either be all rentals, they could be the owner could live in 1 and 2 could be rented, a lot of different options for those. In between there, you'll see in July of last summer that the Plumas County or Plumas Housing Council was formed. And what has been most amazing, I feel personally, from the Housing Council, is that it's a collaboration of a lot of organizations. It's county entities, everybody coming together and learning what each group is doing, what's going on in the county, so that we're not possibly reinventing the wheel, or we're not doing the exact same thing that one other organization is doing right over here. It's just been a wonderful collaboration and a wonderful networking and sharing of information, among other things. But I think that's one of the best things that's happening with it. So after the development model and a tremendous amount of paperwork and years of work from LMNOP and Tyler, which is a huge kudos to them. Thank you so much for all of their time and effort spent on all of this. Now we are here and we are at a point where, you know, the funds are coming in, like I said, with the Dixie Fire Collaborative Funds, and we hope to be able to start building this next summer. That is the goal that we continue to work towards. So I will, at this point, I believe, hand it off to Tyler, and he will talk deeper about all of these things.
Thanks so much, Josh. Yeah, I want to reiterate what Josh had said, that all of those documents, those are really strategic planning documents and like understanding the landscape. Those are all available on the Almanor Foundation website. For those in the community, again, they may outline what you already know, but it's a way of documenting those, synthesizing the information and really detailing in a way that starts to create clarity of how do we actually create housing stock that is workforce attainable. One thing I want to say really quickly is we're talking about workforce attainable housing. That is a different understanding and a different indication than workforce affordable or affordable housing. Affordable housing usually refers to federally and state subsidized programs. And what we're really talking about is outside of those programs really are middle class in a lot of ways, which both California state as a whole is facing a crisis with, but also nationwide, a lack of kind of affordability for the middle class, so to speak. So housing, I mean, I think we all understand this, but housing is really fundamental to the health of a community, housing stock that is attainable. And attainability means that income across all the income sectors, there's availability of housing stock for those income sectors. So that includes middle income and high income earners. And really in the housing ecosystem as a whole, you need a diversity of housing stock to ensure you have different income sectors. And that increases like different job possibilities, everything from doctors down to or up to our mill workers, those in our economy that are, you know, providing the workforce in it, come at all different income sectors. And so you really need housing stock in that diversity, that level of diversity that supports it. For us, what we understood because of the Dixie wildfire and Greenville being destroyed, that held a lot of our workforce attainable rental units and also our sales units for the county as a whole. When we did early research, I was really surprised at how many businesses really across the county really relied on Greenville, where their workers were living. And so in that, how do we start to not just see housing as kind of a key linchpin, as we're calling it right here, but how can it be a catalyst for regeneration, economic development, growth, not exponential growth or growth at all costs, but like smart growth that is aligned culturally with the community and is at the right capacity of the community. How do we actually, how could housing be one of the kind of the drivers for the growth in Greenville coming back and also Plumas County thriving on an economic basis? This is coming from our research early on of looking at Greensburg, Kansas, and also Joplin, Missouri, towns that were destroyed by natural, both by tornadoes. Housing becomes absolutely fundamentally critical, and workforce attainable housing, that kind of middle income sector, becomes absolutely vital, that having that housing stock is necessary for the community to come back. And so looking at best practices. So again, housing affects both our economic health, our community health, and the ecological health of the system. Will you go to the next slide? So in that, I mentioned a little bit about this. So this below 80% AMI, so area median income, And greater than 80% AMI is really a line that has been drawn by federal and state organizations of what they focus on. And so most federal and state programs focus on below 80% area median income. So for Plumas County, for a single like one person household, countywide, that's around 46,000. Greenville is 23,680. These numbers change over time, and Greenville's will increase statistically based off of post disasters and fires. What is happening is federal and state subsidies are starting to go in above 80% to 120%. They're starting to go in there because there's a need for additional support for income above the 80% to 120%, but it's not standardized yet by any means. Also, those programs that are focused on 80% and below AMI, like a tax credit to do a new development, which is often a tool used, those are 4 to 7 years out, and they're highly competitive. So there's two fundamental challenges is if we look to federal or state programs, one, our timeline and our administrative costs go up pretty significantly in those types of programs. But furthermore, it's not really a best fit for what we need. It is part of what we need, but is not the entirety of what we need. And one of the big segments is 80 to 120%, and I would even say up to about 160% AMI. So again, area median income. That's what we're looking at. Really, again, like, think coffee shop workers, millwrights, people working at the county, Caltrans, those kind of positions. We still need we need housing stock for those individuals all the way up to market rate. If you're really interested in these kind of nuances and details, go to the Almanor Foundation website and click on the housing tab, and then go to the housing assessment. If you have any problems, you can reach out to me. I'm happy to point you in the right direction as well. Oh, yeah. Our initiatives, workforce housing. And then I believe it's further down at the bottom, or at the bottom of the page. This goes through vision, mission, additional resources. I think it's additional resources. I'm pretty sure, right? RA. I haven't been to, this is the new website, by the way, which is really exciting. I will ensure Patrick has a link to this and can send it out or add it to the meeting minutes as well. Thanks, Patrick. And make sure that's up there. It's also on the DFC website, I'm pretty sure as well. So we can send those links out. Out. So thanks, Patrick. Okay. Now that we understand area median income, kind of the detail stuff, let's go to the next slide. We were tasked with, LMNOP was tasked with creating an innovative solution that addresses the complexity of housing. Housing is the most complex world I've ever been in. You can range from financing structures, tax-based incentive structures, role of county regulations like HUDs, things like that. You can go outside of that. You can look at the nonprofit sector. You understand insurance, property value, property ownership. Like it's just soup of craziness. And so we really grounded ourselves in what is a solution, because it has to be innovative. Nothing's really working well that we could cookie cutter, basically take it from somewhere else and just implement it. So what we valued was it was a place-based solution, reflects local resources, culture, and market. This is really important because what we heard really clearly was we don't want to have a large apartment complex that just, bundles it all together. And we also heard not a lot of people will rent those. And so it's not a good fit for us culturally. So it needs to be place-based in understanding the culture of the area and the local resources within the area, and also the market potential. It has to be sustainable at the end of the day, supported by funding streams that often are like public-private partnerships. It means everyone is contributing into this, and that those funding streams aren't just like one house, we're done, and then it goes away, but they actually are models where funding can come back to both industry, partners, nonprofit partners, things like that. And that's really where it gets into regenerative, where it actually starts to take financial resources like money. We can put it in, invest it, and it returns back to the investor, and we get the house built at the same time. And so there's ways of doing that. The challenge is how does that still meet our place space, like our culture, what the market wants, and how does it not remove, like basically take away our existing contractors, like take out the contractors, but actually supports those local contractors as well. So it's a very complicated problem to begin with. And we're looking at it from a way of not just like, it's not just like a hammer nail solution. We don't have the nail already. We have to create the nail and figure out what the nail is. And we have to ensure that the hammer doesn't take out like our local industry partners. It doesn't just spend money that doesn't come back to the community, those kind of things. So it was really complicated, complex, but we distilled it down to these three kind of anchor points for us. Next slide. So as we got the kind of foundation set of what do we value, we started, we used the strategic housing plan, which is really where do we need to go, what do we want to do, as a framework to start to understand where do we implement. And what we realized is fundamentally we need to build homes, period. We don't have enough housing stock at all income rates in both sales and rentals. So we need to build homes. That seems kind of obvious, but we need to build homes that also go back to regenerative by nature and also meet market demand, meaning that we don't build a home that the individuals can't either rent or they can't afford to buy. So we also need to support our renters because our incomes countywide are very low comparatively. And so we need a way of starting to move our community and our local renters into a place where they can afford the rental rates. Because what we found is a rental like in Greenville before the fire increased about $300 to $400 after the fire directly, because the Greenville rental then all of a sudden went into county-wide market rates, which was about $300 to $400 more, that then the fire increased even more because there was a lack of stock. And so all of a sudden, someone that was paying $700 to $900 a month for a single family home was paying almost double that because of the fire. And so we need a way of supporting those renters. We also need a way of getting supporting home ownership. So we looked at many different programs like first-time buyers assistance programs or lease to own kind of models. We looked at supporting and having homeowners or getting potential owners that would develop, basically build their own home on site. And so we looked at a lot of those. And where we landed is basically where we could move as quickly as possible while still holding our core values. Again, it's place-based, it's sustainable by nature to our community, and it's regenerative both on the financial and the economic level for our community as well. So if you go to the next slide. Those three targeted areas now have very specific programs with them. So the first one, build homes. We actually targeted at renters to start with, and there is an option that we're pursuing around single family home to sell model. But why we pursued renters is because rentals are actually in huge demand right now, and it had a two-part challenge to it. In the community, we don't really have anyone that was willing. We didn't have anyone, both nonprofit and for-profit, that were willing to step into the developer seat. And we didn't have anyone. I found zero people, zero individuals and organizations that could have the capacity and wanted to step into property management. That was crystal clear. And so we have these two property management and developer. Fortunately, we came across a developer named RRA, which is out of Paradise. They've been in Paradise since the campfire, and they are the only continuous for-profit developer that is doing workforce attainable housing. and have stayed consistently since the fire. They also sit on the Campfire Collaborative, and they have an incredible reputation. So we got connected with them, and we designed a model where we can do 3 units, basically a primary unit, an attached junior ADU, and a detached ADU, all on one site that looks very much like a single family home. It also comes with the 3-car garage and some landscaping for each of those. And they're willing to do property management as well if we can fully fund the program. I'll get to funding in a sec. The PlaceMate lease to locals, this is actually working with PRS, Plymouth Rural Services, and an organization called PlaceMate that helps rent subsidization of our local renters. And that works basically, PlaceMate is kind of like, think of it as a software program, and Plymouth Rural Services is our local community champion. And so that program would help subsidize basically local workforce, local workers with getting rents where they can afford them. And also the goal with that is to actually get non-performing or basically units that are not in the market right now into the market. So think if you have like a granny flat or an in-law unit on your property and you haven't wanted to rent it before, this is a potential where you could rent to a local workforce and get market rates at the same time. And then TRIO program is an existing program in the county with Plymouth County Community Housing Commission, which is our local housing authority. This program is existing, and it's a TRIO's lease to own model, and it supports those individuals that typically wouldn't qualify for a mortgage because of either their credit score or their down payment in getting into home ownership through a lease to own model. This is an existing program, but it really hasn't taken off because it hasn't had kind of a voice in a marketing platform for it. So these 3 specific programs, again, are a development model, which is developed to rent. That's 3 units on a site. We have the PlaceMate lease to locals that's working with Plymouth Rural Services and supporting our renters with rent subsidization. And TRIO program, which is our lease to own model, which helps those that typically wouldn't qualify for a mortgage getting into home ownership by a lease to own model. So we have these 3 programs that we're pursuing implementation over the next 3 years at minimum. So if you go to the next slide. Let's look a little bit about the RA development model. So this model basically said, I don't want to get into too much of the weeds because there's a lot of details here. There's also a video that I can share with you if you're interested in this model. It's targeted at an investment model in which nonprofit and for-profit accredited investors can invest into the development model that basically would acquire a single family home site and build 3 units on the site, including 1 primary unit, which is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath primary dwelling, an attached junior ADU, and a 2-bedroom ADU above a garage. How that works is then each unit would have its own private entrance, deck yard, and space for a garage. And how do we actually fund this? So this was where the DFC has been really instrumental through I think 5 conversations in total at steering committee meetings, additional meetings outside of it to understand the model, the economics of it. How does it actually work? The DFC has contributed $600K, which is getting matched with additional funds from the Almanor Foundation under their Fire Recovery Fund and the North Valley Community Foundation. And they're really there as the first money in to kind of seed this fund. The total fund would need to be $5 million. This is the target of it, which at the end would get us 45 homes on 15 sites in 3 years. Now, who are the other funders for this? We're already in conversations with SPI and other industry partners around funding this model right now, and have gotten an incredibly positive response because it's very actionable and the details have been figured out fairly. Again, it's been gotten into a ton of detail. What is beneficial of this is RRA then would be the property manager of this development because it operates at scale in which their business actually can work. And so that supports us in actually building the rental stock that we need. They're also interested in developing housing stock for sale as well. Construction of these types would be with SIPs, so that's structurally insulated panels, and would have a very much like be highly insulated, things like that. Next slide. Lease to locals program. Again, this allows landlords are paid in 1 year incentives, and that subsidizes the existing rent. And it's a partnership between Plymouth Rural Services and Placement. Because of Plymouth County's very, very unique characteristics, like geographically separated, smaller population, we're designing that program right now. And so that will go through a level of kind of redesign to make sure that it hits our market needs that they haven't found in other communities, because most of those are larger centers like Tahoe, Truckee is where they got started. And most have really significant recreation pushes to them. So Lease to Locals program will be designing over the next about 6 months. And that program will hopefully be launched in probably summer, fall of 2025. Next slide. Trio Lease to Loan. Again, this is an existing program with the Plymouth County Community Development Commission, which is our local housing authority. And it allows us to move from rentals into ownership, as well as subsidize, or excuse me, allows individuals that typically would not qualify for traditional mortgages on the houses because of their credit score and their household income, and allows them to get into home ownership. So we're looking at really excited about kind of activating this program. If you go to the next slide. So what does this all mean? Is there's a 3-year vision that in 3 years, we have 45 new homes that would be on 15 sites. So again, 3 units per site in 3 years. Through the TRIO program, we would have 5 new homeowners through the TRIO's lease to own model. And so that would be individuals that typically wouldn't qualify for a mortgage, and gets them into home ownership through lease to own, because we know that ownership increases the likelihood that members will stay in the community long term, raise their kids and families and stick around. And we want to do 30 new rentals on the market through the Placement program and the lease to locals with Placement and Plymouth Rural Services. So really excited about this, and deep, deep gratitude to the Dixie Fire Collaborative, the steering committee, the Almanor Foundation, and the North Valley Community Foundation for one, funding the time it takes to create a vision of how to do something in a very complex and challenging space, and also pushing forward to a direct implementation that we're looking over the next 3 years. Next slide. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Tyler. That's a lot of information and a lot of good information. Thanks for laying it out there. There will be time for Q&A in here in just a bit. So I'm going to go ahead and carry on with a couple of updates myself. So real quick, Kevin, actually, I'm going to put you on the spot. Numero uno there, federal tax exemption. Is there anything, is this now a good time for you just to elaborate on anything you'd like to share with regard to the latest and greatest there?
Pretty straightforward. You've been following my travels and whatnot, States. But it's was a very challenging time to be able to try and get that through. There was many few steps forward, 2 steps back type of scenario, but at the end we ended up getting what we wanted, and many thanks to our team at After the Fire and so many other folks from the Marshall Fire in Colorado, the Talent Fire in Oregon, and Sonoma, and all these other fires that have claimants, and also the Ohio train derailment disaster was included in that as well. So it did get signed by the president last week, I believe, and so that is a done deal. I'm glad that it didn't get wrapped into what you're seeing right now, or what you saw last night, because that potential was there, and we did not want that, and we did not believe that we deserved that. So happily to get that done. The state side is, as you know, not done yet. We and the mill fire are the only two right now that are awaiting approval, but the precedence has been set through Campfire and Woolsey and other fires down in Sonoma. So I have no reason to think that we will not get, we will definitely get approved at some point. I am shooting for prior to April 15th, so I will be knocking on some doors down in Sacramento when I do go down there once a month for my RCRC, Regional Council, Rural County, counties meetings. So, anyway, that's kind of the update on that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And yes, thank you, Kevin, and for the whole team from After the Fire USA. For really the better part of a year, they've been advocating for that. And as Kevin expressed, a lot of trial and error, a lot of back and forth, but I think we can all agree that helps with the fire survivors be able to keep their funds here in the county and put it towards the things that they need to, whether it be their home or business. So thank you for that. Wanted to give an update on Recover California. So Recover California is the name of the program of a grant that was applied for way back a couple years ago called the Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery. There's a couple of those that the county had applied for. This one allocated millions of dollars. It was facilitated by Housing and Urban Development at the federal level, and then down to Housing and Community Development, HCD, at the state of California. This is the program for single-family reconstruction and or single-family mitigation retrofits. So that number for the single-family reconstruction had been, or it still remains, $500,000 that homeowners can apply for, and then $50,000 for the single-family mitigation retrofits. So let me kind of carve that out a little bit. Recently, HCD approved an increase. Back when Tyler Pugh was talking about the 80% area median income, that's the number that, as he alluded to, a lot of state and federal agencies use, because that typically applies to when we start to talk about low to moderate income below that number. HCD restructured the grant to allow for the single family reconstruction to go up to 120% AMI. That means that based off of the entire household income, so for a family of 4 in Plymouth County, that's roughly $110,000 a year as a household income of individuals that are able to apply for this program. There's a lot of other eligibility requirements, and I'm slowly, I wish more rapidly, but slowly becoming an expert on this, because everybody's situation is different, and there are things that you interpret and you read, and then there's some gotchas like, oh, by the way, have you done this and have you done that? And so we've gone down that road with some applicants, and since April, been trying to roll this program out. I will tell you that generally speaking, on every other Friday at our office, a case manager from Recover California is there in person from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. If you're interested, or you know somebody that might be interested, so please come on in. And after we get through the holidays here, I'll republish that every other week sort of calendar on our Facebook page. If you want to just come in, that's really the best source to at least start the application, which is fairly robust, and then get your specific eligibility questions answered. And actually, I'll show you a couple other things that they just published yesterday, and we're going to have, we're going to get these in hard copy form. Where are we? If I can do this. No, this might not be worth it. There we go. All right. And for our viewers at home, One moment. Are we? Good. Love it. So much fun. All right, but here are some items that they just came out with these renderings of what the potential models look like, and better ways to access this. As you can imagine, with a lot of state or federal programs, some of the bureaucracy to wade through has not been the easiest, but with lots of feedback coming back through of just trying to refine the process to make it easier for people to access. This is, as of yesterday, these are hot off the press. So we'll have these in my office at 127 Crescent Street in between the CSD and the physical therapist there. If you want to take these, and then I'll have some posters up around town as well. Not only here, but then also Quincy, Chester, and points east, just so that we get the word out. All right. Let's go back. That one is, that's a grant, so that you apply for, and then you're essentially, you're getting up to $500,000 for a single family home. That's correct. There are other pieces that are taken into account as a quote unquote duplication of benefits, but that'll go into the application. Where are we? Sorry about this. There we go. Okay. There we go. So yes, always happy to talk about that program. As Danny mentioned, and we've had plenty from the Almaro Foundation. That was a big one. But back to grants and funding. So the Indian Valley Food Pantry, we were able to support them with $2,500 for Thanksgiving dinners. The CSD, they applied for a $6,500 grant that is contributing funding for an application that they're putting forward to the Department of Energy, which costs overall $20,000 for them to even apply for a program to where they can potentially receive millions of dollars in grant funding for a microgrid, which increases energy independence if it goes through to the point where they can construct this in the valley. And so that's another opportunity. But I bring this up as let me go jump down to another bullet there. The Dixie Fire Collaborative website. So DixieFireCollaborative.org. You'll find grant information there of past grants, but then also if you have an organization, you know of another organization that would like to apply, please do. You saw the grant funding that we have available, and I'm happy. Sometimes I've met folks where they get sort of intimidated by the process. The grant portal on the North Valley Community Foundation website is very accessible, but I'm happy to go through the steps and actually sit down with you to fill it out if that's what needs to happen. And as Tyler Pugh alluded to, with 5 or 6 different sessions with the steering committee, we did that with that specific program because it was very robust and it had lots of different components to it. As you heard him describe, there's 3 different portions, and each one is very dynamic and it's a different sort of need for a different sort of thing. We did I think we started in September to really just get the information out. But in a lot of ways, if it's a small grant, say less than $5,000 or $10,000, filling out the application with a good budget, that answers 90% of the questions right there. And then we can move through if there are things to support. Julie and I were talking a little bit about this before in a different way. He saw I had a ship up there up on my background. I just like the picture. And he's like, "Oh, what does that mean?" And so we were kind of joking around about what does the ship mean? What is it all about? And really, and Julian came up with this. Well, hats off to you, Julie. But the many hands make light work, right? Like many hands on a crew to be able to make that thing go. And that's exactly what's been happening over these many years since the fire. But month by month, week by week, day by day, it's never gonna be one thing. It's not one thing, right? We had a great brief on housing. Hopefully in February, I'll be able to share some economic development opportunities for you, right? There's all these different lines of effort, and there are different groups and organizations that are focused on that. And that's what it takes, is for those groups and organizations to stay focused on their thing. And a collaborative is only as good as those other organizations. Just like Sue Weber was talking about the Parks and Rec. They're doing their thing. They should stay focused and concentrated on that so that others can pick up the ball for tree planting, right? Or for supporting a Christmas holiday dinner with toys. Whatever the case may be and whatever your thing is, we're happy to support it. And that's where the network and the collaboration continues. And that's a pretty wide net when you start talking about what we need community development. And maybe you're directly impacted by the fire, but everybody assuredly was indirectly. And our organizations were indirectly impacted. When Kira was talking about the chamber, Gold Diggers, please come on out to support that meeting, because that takes a lot of hands to make that an effective community event, not just for the people that live here, which is, you know, our primary customers, but it's also great to showcase our community for other people coming outside of the county or outside the community at a great time in the summertime to come on out and support that. So yeah, I know I'm preaching to the choir right here, but just a quick sales pitch on our grant program. It's really not to get off my chest there. Okay, bouncing back up, let's talk about the Indian Valley Information Basket. So again, another opportunity for a lot of people to support that, a lot of different groups, organizations, and some sweat equity out there. Again, Julian, thank you, and others. Brad was out there, Kes was out there quite a bit. We had students supporting that. We had some college students supporting that. We had high school students supporting that. We had junior high students supporting that. We had a lot of people involved. And what this is showcasing right here, so there's a couple pictures here, but this is an opportunity for groups, organizations to post their information, for people to drive by, stop, take a look, take a read. It's accessible. We've got some nice weatherproof bulletin boards to where you can hang flyers and things of that nature. And then there's also some panels up in that top picture. You'll see it. They give a little bit of the regional and town history of Greenville, Indian Valley, etc. There's a topographic map there that supports the different trail systems in the national forest and opportunities where you can access some of the recreation in the area. So please, by all means, I know folks have driven by since the summer and kind of scratched their head a little bit. What is that and what's it going to be and what do I do with it? It's come to fruition, and it's something like this that can develop into maybe one day like a larger visitor center or like a chamber spot or something that continues to not only support folks that live here, but that also those that drive by to have them kind of stop and enjoy the community as well. Okay, I think that's all that I have right now. Okay, share outs. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Hi, I am Michaela Trammell with the Dixie Fire Canopy Project. I just wanted to come in and give a update on our 1 year of being out here and doing everything that we said we were gonna do. And sorry, I'm not very prepared today. It's Christmas season, but I just wanted to say thank you to everybody from our very first grant to our most recent grant from the Feather River Community Fund. We were able to not only reach our goals of 400 trees planted, but surpass them with 655 trees and over 350 pollinator shrubs. If you're not aware, that's 4 trees, 2 shrubs on each property. So that's right under 150 properties planted. It's a huge deal. It was great. A lot of people took chances on us. They didn't know. I came in, I said, I want to plant some trees. And they're like, well, who is she? I don't really know. But I do. I appreciate all of the support. You guys have been wonderful. Getting our name out there, coming to events, and just kind of spreading the word. So I just wanted to give those updates. We have been set up to get through the winter with all of our insurances and everything, and we will be right back out there early next spring. And hopefully we're going to surpass our next year's goals. We're raising the bar a little bit. So you'll see us. You will see the Dixie Fire Canopy Project team out there and putting the green back in Greenville and surrounding areas. So thank you. And
All right, thank you, Michaela, and congratulations on a good first year. All right, additional share outs, anybody? Yes, sir.
Oh, I'm Julian Howe. I am here representing the Greenville Rotary Club. May 24th, that's Memorial Weekend. We're putting on a century ride, 100 miles, 60 miles, a metric 100. And we're doing 25 for those people who just can't quite do 100 miles. The beautiful thing about the 25 is the stop before you come back is going to be at Grizzly Bite. And they're offering free pizza. So 20, you got all day to do 25 miles. You can get off your bike and push it for whatever. You can't quite bicycle all the way. Free pizza. So we're just now beginning to advertise that. If you want to look on a website, it's ivcenturyride.org.
All right, okay, thank you, Gary. You had that free pizza, so I'm in. That's good to hear. Any additional share outs? Okay, just a quick pitch for the Indian Valley Thrift Shop Association. Always in need of volunteers to help support just their hours. And I understand there'll be some reduced hours potentially in January and February, just the winter. From 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. It'll be open Monday through Friday?
Tuesday through Saturday.
Tuesday through Saturday. So Tuesday through Saturday.
It might be longer because she accommodates the food pantry people.
Okay, yeah.
Just on advertising.
So yeah, just look for a change of hours coming. But again, the Thrift Shop Association, 100% of their proceeds go back into the community through scholarships for students, through support of other community organizations that need a small grant. And right now, their heating system is giving them kind of a little bit of a headache. It's expensive to run and it's not very efficient. So they're working on replacing it. And we, the Dixie Fire Collaborative, we're trying to help them with that and get up and over some hurdles here soon. But they're looking to raise some funds potentially to do that. And so I think we might be able to find some efficiencies here and there to help get through the winter. Yes. Think about volunteering there though as well if you can swing a 3-hour shift between Tuesday and Saturday. Okay. Questions and answer. Q&A. Yes, ma'am.
This is for Josh or Tyler, housing.
Yeah.
Is Josh still here?
Josh is still here and Tyler is still on.
Okay, over a year ago or sometime, Scott, whose last name I can't think of, was talking about the tiny homes. That he had funds to build them, but he couldn't find property to put them on. And it seems to me that would be a solution for temporary housing at least, and possibly even single people who are working here who need a small place to live and could be used as vacation rentals in the future. Did anything come of that? Does anybody know whether anything happened with that?
Tyler,
This is Tyler. I'm not aware of the specific program. The tiny houses has been brought up a few different times as a way of kind of cost reduction. The challenges with tiny houses is really on kind of the financial structures of them because they sit outside of traditional kind of funding or mortgages. Also, the build quality of them can range pretty significantly on how they're built. So what we did understand is like a 1-bedroom kind of smaller unit was something that was of need for like a single individual or even a traveling nurse or those kind of opportunities. And so that was part of how we came to the 3 units on one site is it includes a 1-bedroom junior ADU on it that would be rentable to it. So yeah, again, I don't know the specific program. Tiny houses has come up a lot. It's used often for immediate kind of housing needs. And what we were really looking at is like the housing needs towards our workforce for the long term, which means on foundations, traditional financing kind of options, things like that type of housing.
Yeah, and also I believe, I'll get you a better answer on this, Judy. I also believe that there are some of it is prohibitive based off current county ordinances in terms of what is determined, like the make and model of a tiny house, if it's wheeled, if it's stationary, and what it needs for subsistence, electricity, plumbing, etc. It may fall underneath the camping ordinance, and don't quote me on that, and I can find out better, but I believe that there were some limitations why tiny houses just outright were maybe not the best method. But
yeah, Patrick, you're absolutely right on that. It's basically an RV is what it's considered if it's on wheels, which then puts it into the camping ordinance. And right now it's allowed because of the temporary emergency ordinance that allows for RVs to be on a home permanently without a permanent foundation home on the same site. So yeah, there was significant hurdles, and if we wanted to go down that route, it was basically the cost of a smaller home. Think of it this way: on a foundation, the cost benefit isn't really there because you still need a kitchen, a bathroom, a restroom, those kind of things. So you're not increasing the cost to add another 100 square foot or things like that. So when people think of tiny homes, they're thinking of typically volume built manufactured or volume built units on wheels oftentimes.
And after the fire, the county had approved an emergency ordinance to allow for RV living, and that ordinance was due to expire December 31st, 2024, so in a week and a half. I believe it was extended, the Board of Supervisors voted to extend it to December of 2025. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. So, and that just occurred in the last month or two. Also was here, I've got a couple copies over here, but this is the ADU idea book. And this is published by our planning department. And this has been out for about a year. And some of the, on the Alamo Foundation website of what you saw, of some of the renderings, there's 4 different models of different square footage that can be surveyed in this binder. And then there's some plans there as well. But one of the waivers that's in effect as well is that on some parcels, if a would-be homeowner or builder is kind of on the fence about building a primary dwelling unit, like a typical single-family home, there is a waiver in place right now where one could build an ADU because, you know, by definition, the ADU is an accessory. It's an accessory to a primary dwelling unit. So instead of having to, you know, have a primary house first and then the ADU, if one wanted to build an ADU first to kind of feel it out, to kind of see, you know, maybe they can get by for a while at 800 square feet, 1,000 square feet is probably fine. But anyway, and then maybe one day decide to invest and build a house, and they can do that too. That's something to take a look. Other questions? Yes, sir. Oh. Hi.
So I want to quickly keep on the housing theme real quick, just to go back. I think we had a lot of porches in the community prior to the fire. And, you know, porches.
Oh, porches.
Front porches,
Front porches.
front porches. And I know I said very, very early in the meetings that years back is that, let's see if we can bring those back. So this is just another plug. And I saw the, sorry.
That's right, I got you.
Both the program that Tyler's talking about, there are no front porches. Because just the orientation of the building, it kind of forces it, they're not to be able to be, there's a front.
There
porch.
are front porches,
But
Danny. There are front porches on the primary.
I'm trying to address that, and I haven't finished talking. I'm trying to address that. The orientation of the front porch is to the driveway, which is not to the street, which is, you know, but I acknowledge that there's some of there, but I just look on the street side of it, because growing up, you know, I grew up here in Dallas, we used to be out on the front porch, people went by, we said hi, it was part of the community, help build the community. And that's, and yeah, I acknowledge the front porch, but the ideal front porch is facing the street. Tyler, and I dislike back porches. Unless you have a front porch as well. Oh, but so that also goes into the other program that you were just talking about, the
Recover California.
Recover California one, that what I looked at, there was no front porch at all, not even an attempt of one. There might be there, and it's a tunnel. It's one of those tunnels, and it's a trap tunnel, and there's an issue there too, with people used to get into the front door, you're between two walls there, and that's an issue. I think from a safety point of view.
The
So,
answer. If we're talking about the Recover California program, though,
you need a mic, so.
I just wanna say that, with the $500,000 grant that they would be receiving, I think, there's a lot of handymen and everything like that that could come back in and put those porches in, you know, later. I know that housing is kind of a really big deal right now, and porches, I agree, I love porches, I want one in my house, but I think that they would be able to come back in, everything's kind of properly built to where you could add them. You have a great porch, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah, you have another comment? I have a different comment, and this is for Kira, a question for Kira. Regarding, membership in Indian Valley Chamber of Commerce. So, you know, we have displaced residents and others, people who, you know, were displaced and, you know, okay, so we didn't have a primary residence here, but we're actively involved. And so what about membership for people who are displaced, planning to come back, people who are displaced, or people who have non-primary homes in the area and membership in the Indian Valley Chamber?
So I'm just guessing that no one's gonna not take your money.
That's exactly right. We haven't discriminated against any member.
I'm just joking with you, Katie, but I think if somebody wants to be a member, so I meant to throw this
Come and
up
be a
earlier,
member,
but
yes.
that's on this. Here's the website. And if you, or you know somebody from outside the area that wants to throw, I think it's $50 to be.
I think it's 45 even for just an individual. I'm not
Okay.
sure.
Then please, I don't want to speak for the chamber, but I would say do it, you know? But
Yes, we have out of area members that, you know, predominantly we're here to serve the Indian Valley community, but absolutely we have kind of members that are exceed our exact physical location.
Could those members be on boards too, or not, or is it not?
You know, I'm not. That is a great question. I'm not sure there's any limitation on that in the bylaws. So I'd have to check the bylaws on that.
Thank you.
yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I think it's a good question because we do want to, like for any organization, right, to be able to, you know, branch out and increase your membership. Because there's so many folks that, I mean, that's a common one that I often hear is, gosh, if we had more people, if we could do this, the capacity issues. And that's whether it be a nonprofit or some of our special districts as well, like the Parks and Rec or the CSD or the cemetery boards or the water boards. All those are boarded by at least 5 people. It's a lot. And there's only so many people to go around in a county of less than 20,000 people, 63 special districts, you know, dozens of nonprofits, right? So yeah, it takes a lot. And you all sitting here are doing it. So, you know.
Yes, exactly. Thank you.
I'm not sure who can answer this question, but does anybody have any idea what businesses we can look forward to in the next year? It would be nice to have something to look forward to.
Besides houses. In addition to houses.
Yeah, that's a great question, Ann, and I don't have a great answer for you. I mean, it's just, once again, the, you know, lines of effort like this, I think can help reinforce those local businesses. And having, you know, when Tyler was talking a little bit about the regenerative aspect of the housing piece, right? People have a place to live and a school to send their children, right? Then, you know, you automatically have more consumers in an area. I'm not just trying to look at the dollars and cents of things, but when you go to, let's say, like a basketball game recently, right? And you see people coming to events like that, and you see families involved in events like that. Or you go to the elementary school, they had their Christmas concert, right? Marcia, thank you for contributing to that. multi-generational, right? These are the things that like, slowly but surely, right, they keep that interest of community keep the community engaged to where a house will pop up, a rental will pop up. And oh, by the way, I work up here, I work over there. And then now I want to go out for pizza, right? And I want to go get a cheeseburger. I want to get a cup of coffee, all these types of things. And so it's not as, like the one moment where all of a sudden it goes like that, which I know you're not suggesting, where we would wish that it could, but it's this creep, right? Where the slowly but surely things are building back and people are able to have, the slice of community that they want. And then that can help reinforce a more vibrant business and commercial area, as we have more people here. Next month, what I was kind of alluding to is what we're trying to do is with the businesses that are here is help their own marketing and advertisement opportunities through just physical signage. So that's something that Marcia, Haley Bentz, and Matt Fogarty on our steering committee, they've sort of splintered off in a subcommittee to help us with that. And so I've been doing like the homework for it of just what's it going to cost and how we can kind of shape this into a budget to help what we already have right now. And then if we can kind of keep that model going, that as other businesses come online, that we can support them. I know we often go to, the commercial or retail businesses or food service. And, there's another sector to support, which is our general construction, our contractors, concrete, et cetera, that there are people here that are employing half a dozen to a dozen people on any given week. Multiply that by 4 or 5 of these different companies, and we'd like to support them as well because that's also reinforcing our efforts. So,
Patrick, can I add a couple things to that too?
please.
If possible. I think we need to remind ourselves that the vacancies of our downtown commercials, there was a lot of vacancies or closed spaces. So we had buildings, but not a ton of businesses, and we've mapped those out if you'd like to share. And so as the town recovers, I think it's remembering that the town didn't have a ton of thriving businesses and things like that before. And then also realizing and remembering that the best case scenarios that we found in all of the research was about 7 years until you start to regenerate. We're at year 3.5, right? And so the next year is gonna be in the trenches again. It's gonna be a little dark, but after that, like the projects that are coming through, the target is the way station is in construction, spring, summer of next year, like those physical buildings start to come back. And so I think it's just managing our own expectations around what comes back. In the meantime, for the next 2 years, shop local, like support the businesses that are here. Hunters is open, like buy your shovel there. Don't go on Amazon and order it because it's easier to have it delivered or it might be cheaper. The businesses, they're struggling because they don't have the population to support them. And so they need our locals to actually use our dollars. It might cost a little bit more and it might not be there exactly how you want it. You might have to make a little bit of a sacrifice, but it's our community's ability to see that we need to spend local to keep our existing businesses that then could have future businesses come in. That's going to be critical. And this is a reality that is not just Greenville or Indian Valley. This is across the nation, that retail and many of the brick and mortar are going away because it's much more convenient and easy to buy on Amazon. And so my biggest plug is support those businesses that are here because it's hard. It is not an easy market for any business at any time, let alone one that's in recovery. So kudos to all the business owners that have committed and keep doing it. Let's support them right now.
Patrick, this is Kira. I just had one aside. You mentioned being on a committee and a subcommittee working for signage around Indian Valley, and the aesthetic value of the valley and signage is definitely something that's within the chamber's purview to support, and we've already committed to make sure we support monetarily with those. So please get in touch with us when it comes to stuff like that as well. So anything regarding the general aesthetic value of Indian Valley that supports multiple businesses, not just one business. We're not in a position to just fund individual businesses. But anyone who has those sorts of projects, including the signage patch, please let us know so we can help fund those.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much. And just like that, folks, that's how collaboration works. You're seeing it in real time.
Two quick questions. Recover Health, the mitigation grant, 50,000. I've had 3 inspections. Is there a timeline yet as to when we might get the grant going?
So they've come to your home to inspect?
Yes.
Yes, so I'll follow up to
Okay.
you specifically with your.
I just wondered if, I know they said it'd be next year sometime. I just wondered if
Yeah, but that's a good sign.
they are. Yeah, I've had 3. They just inspected my roof. I don't know the results.
Yeah, so these inspections are part of the pre-construction
Right.
phase,
Right.
where they do a variety of surveys and inspections to then develop what they're going to implement based off of an individual's home and what they think their quote unquote, levels of importance are. So that's everything from, gravel around the house to brush and tree thinning to roofs and,
Yeah.
fire retardant, siding, things of that nature.
Good. Yeah, they are. I'm in it, obviously.
Great.
Because they've been 3 times. So, and my second quick question, did you finish the tree planting in homes that were?
We did not only private residences, also commercial properties and public as well.
So
So
I didn't get any. I'm wondering what happened to my trees.
yeah, we had an overwhelming amount of signups,
Okay.
and so it was a huge first year, where I started, I only had about 5 people on my list last November. And then by the time we got to the end of this season here, we had over 250 people signed up. So we will be right back out there early spring, starting with the people that were previously signed
Oh,
up.
good. Because
And
they
they'll be
said
at
I
the
was
top.
still on the list and
Yeah.
it
Which
I mean,
we
could it have-
learned a lot this year. We learned, and then, traveling all the way from Warner Valley,
yeah.
Indian Falls, everywhere in between. We had a lot of learning experiences. There were some things that came up that we had to adapt to. So it was, we'll be right back out there. You're still on our list and you'll be at the top of the list this time. Thank
I
you.
could have had some fruit.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, any additional questions? For anybody? All right, well, thank you all for joining us, and I wish you all, happy holidays, happy new year into 2025, and really appreciate your engagement, and your support, to the variety of things that you hear on a monthly-ish basis. And, by all means, if there's something that's unclear or doesn't make sense, you can always contact me. Email's a great way to get me. Patrick@dixiefire.org. That's my email address. And I'm happy to follow up with you. And I'm right over there again, across the street from the spot, and happy to sit down and have a conversation with you there. If there's something that you'd like to do, if you have an idea for a program or something that you also want to spearhead or you want to see something, let's talk and let's figure it out. Thank you. I'm generally there Monday through Friday, like during business hours, unless I'm not, where I'm just going to a meeting or exactly. But that, I'm generally there. Yes. All right, well, thank you all very much.